Hey everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Bonnie. I'm the Academic Technology Support Specialist, and I like to run these weekly trainings to help us learn about all the tools that we have available. Our guest speaker today is Wendy McGrath, who helped build and create AUDirect 2.0. She's going to show us the basics of how AUDirect 2.0 works, answer any questions you might have about some of the features that are there now. And so we can get started. Wendy, I'll stop sharing if you want to share your screen.
That would be great. And if everyone could please post in the chat maybe where you, what area, campus or administrative area you're from, that would be really helpful to see where, what you represent and who you are. I don't really know many of you, so. But I'm Wendy McGrath, and I currently work for the Graduate School of Leadership and Change, developing the learning environments for that organization. And I'm also working on the development of the AUDirect for the university. So I'm really happy to show you some of the basic features that you probably have seen, but may not have had an opportunity to use regularly. And if you have any specific questions, if you would, or any areas you want me to talk about, please do also post them in the chat or just unmute yourselves and let me know. There are not that many of us here that you can't simply just speak. But I'm happy to go over the basics with you. So I will share my screen. And thank you all for posting in the chat. That's really very helpful. So, AUDirect in general is the next iteration of the original web app that we did 8 or 9 years ago that was built on the icons of the different systems that we have at the university. And that the premise of that was just so that we could have single sign-on, one login to get to all the systems that we use without having to log into each one of these systems each time. It's also kind of, when we built this one, I think in an ideal world, we would not continue to use this icon structure, but we wanted to keep this relatively familiar so that it wasn't completely a new radical interface for people, but that we brought something from the old world into the new world. But what you're seeing here in 2.0 really is just the beginning of multiple possibilities of where we can go with this and how this can help bring us together as a more networked university to all of those resources that are all over the place, to have an internal, coherent and cohesive communication infrastructure that we can build on. So this at present is just very small baby steps into that process.
Wendy, is it possible to make your screen a little bigger, either by changing the resolution?
I can. People have also, you can change your own view in Zoom. You can.
Okay. Yeah, up under the top bar, it says view options, and you can do the zoom ratio if you need to zoom in.
Right, so set it to your own comfort level, and I will up mine as well. Is that better?
I will say I can't see anything at my zoom ratio of 50%. So
okay, so I just made it quite a bit bigger. So is anyone else not able to see it? Okay, are you good? Okay, I'll zoom you on.
Okay.
Okay. So I think I'll start with the very basics. We have a simple menu structure on the side that has some simple options. The first one is services, and this is the full icon set that exists for you in your particular role. So AUDirect knows who you are, knows where you work, and gives you the icons that are specific to your role in the university and to your campus. So that's the full set here. The full set, most of these icons, you don't use them all of the time. And it's a lot to wade through. One of the big issues was there's just too many of them, and people kept adding them into the mix. So what we created here as a first step is for you to have the option to just choose the icons that you want and then drag those, click and hold and drag those icons up into this icon bar at the top of your screen. So with those icons there, then you can create your own custom set. So if you only use your Mail and your Drive in AU View, those are the only 3 icons you have to see when you log in. So you just have your smaller set of icons. Just drag and drop, click, hold, drag and drop up to this menu at the top. And then remember to save your layout. Save is, whatever changes you make here in AUDirect, you want to make sure you save. So the goal here is to give you a customized set that just shows you the stuff that you need. And if you want to go and get something that you use infrequently, it's still here in this set. You don't lose access to it. So I've moved several things here to my bar. I actually don't want AU View. I just moved that in. So I'm just going to move that back over here. And now it's gone from my bar. And if I click Save Layout again, then when I log in next time, I won't have to see that. So drag and drop is your friend here. The other kind of sort of issue around the old icon structure here was not only are there too many that you don't use very often that you have to see and wade through all the time, but they really don't represent some of the tools and locations that maybe you need to go to on the web within the internal structure of the university every day. So on top of being able to customize these big system level icons, there's the ability to make your own icons. And all of these here from this one over, you actually can rearrange these as well. All of these icons here I created because they represent places that I go often. And I did that by using this plus sign over here to manage your own icons. And here then I can copy and paste or type any URL that you want. This can be a URL to a website. It can be a Google Doc. It can be a Sakai course site. Any URL that you want to save here is fair game. So actually I typed it in the wrong place, of course. So it's, you want to put the URL in the URL field, and then you can give it any name that you want, but it needs to be short because the icons are short. So I'm going to say this is marketing. Here is the marketing icon to our Antioch.edu website. And I can change the color of the icon. I thought I was having trouble with this. I was going to mention this to Brian because this doesn't work the way it did before. There you go. So you can change the color of the icon. You can actually change the gradient and the text color. And I'm not happy with how this is working. So, but you should be able to change the coloring here. You can also select an icon that's meaningful to you. So you have this icons that you can choose from, and you can choose any icon you want. And once you've selected an icon, you can add this to your icon doc. You see it popped and you have this at the top right, you can then close this. So you can see this marketing icon that I just created popped up on my bar. Now if I save my layout, it'll be here the next time I log in. So now that I can go directly there. And if I want to remove it, I can remove it the same way. I can just grab it, hold it, drag it over here, and then save my layout again. So it's the same process. So I use these things for, like, I need to manage a lot of Google Groups. So this takes me directly to Google Groups. There are several other people's Zoom rooms, like Lori and Alexandra. I have to meet with her quite a bit, so I just created a URL to her Zoom room. That takes me there automatically. I don't have to remember her Zoom address. I've got some tracking documents that I use in the Google Doc. So I created it, copied in the URL from the Google Doc. So here I could just open things and resources that I use frequently that have a web address, or go to sites that I use frequently. Does anyone have any questions about that? Does that make sense? Was that clear about how to do it? Where did the icon go? Do you mean the one I just got rid of? It just went poof. So it doesn't, you see, it doesn't get stored over here because it's one that you created, right? So one mechanism is you can just, these icons you create yourself, you can get rid of them the same way by dragging them over here. But you also, under the plus sign, you could get rid of them here by just clicking the minus sign.
What's that second blue button next to the minus sign?
This allows you to duplicate. If you have an icon, if you look at these icons, for example, you can scroll a while, and I find with icons, I can't find the one I used last time. So it's just to save you some time. If you want to duplicate an icon, you can use this duplicate button.
I'm seeing if I can, oh yeah, I can join this way.
I'm sorry, what?
Shirley's in, her microphone was just on when she joined us.
Oh, sorry, that was the question. Thought that was a question. So you really, this is the most useful part of this, like down here, is to delete them, but it's really just easier to just create one, put a URL, give it a name, give it an icon, save your layout. And if you want to remove it, then just drag it and drop it over into services and save your layout. The icon dock is where it says drag services icons here. This is the icon dock up here at the top. Okay. Okay, so any questions about the icons and how to use them? So for me, you know, once I have the icons I want, I like empty space. I don't like to see this menu over here, and I'll come back to what this menu does. But I want to show you so that when I log in, let me refresh my screen. See, when I refresh my screen, you'll see that this collapses over here at the side. The menu collapses. So I can still see services and spaces and content and create content by mousing over them. But I don't have to look at this all the time. It's just because it's just in my way and I don't use it very often. So there is underneath on your name, you see this little cog here, which is a traditional icon for settings. So you just open up your settings here. You can click this little open with minimized menu button. And that if you do that and you close this up and then save your layout, it will always open so that this is closed, and you can just open it up when you need it using this burger icon. Yes, it's called a burger icon. This burger icon up here to open and close the menu, but it'll always be closed by default.
Wendy, can you show where the tutorials are for people who want to look at your tutorials in future?
I will do that. Let me do one more thing first.
Absolutely.
And then I'll absolutely talk about where those are. So there's also under these settings, there's one other thing that people asked for, and that was to be able to adjust your icon size, because on some people's screen, it's just too small, and they've always complained that I just can't read these things, right? So right here on your settings, you also have this bar that you can adjust to make your icons pretty big. So if you would like to fill up half of your screen, go for it. So just adjust the size of your bar. You can make these icons much bigger. I kind of like them small myself, but totally up to you. And so again, you can adjust this, click the X to close the settings bar, and then save your layout. And when you log back in, your icons will continue to be big and you won't have to reset it every time. There is one other setting under here, under the settings, and that is this, right? This is set so that if I click the services bar and then I click the spaces bar, you'll see that the service bar closes up. add content. So I can only have one of these open at a time. That annoys some people. So if you would like to have them open multiple sections of that at the same time, you have another setting, which is this manually close the menu sections option, which allows you, once you save that, it allows you to have multiple ones of these open at the same time. You see I have two of them open at the same time. So that's another thing that you can select and save. And of course you can change these at any time. And if you like orange, I don't, or blue, right now, you have a couple of options for a color scheme. You don't have, we'll have more for you in the future, but right now you actually can make it really quite garish if you like. That's you, and save that as well. So you have some settings to take control of it. And where, you know, it is incredibly useful that one of the kind of, the whole fundamental thinking behind everything that we're developing here is that it's customizable by you, that you can set this up in a way that works for you, your work style, so that you can see the things that you use and you can set them up the way you want to see them. And there'll be more and more options for doing that. So if you're someone who likes to make those changes, you can. If you are like it the way it is, you don't have to touch any of that. Totally up to you. So the question about the tutorials, I'll jump down to this bar here. So right here under the AUDirect 2.0 tutorials, the 5th bar down, there are some animated GIFs that you can watch. So that under these categories of how to manage your icon set, how to add and create and remove content, organize spaces, and we can go over a couple of those things. But if you open this up, this first one here, so there's a bunch of little just animated GIFs. So you have an animation here that shows you how to drag and drop things and save them. And down here, on each one of these, you'll see a little text explanation if that's what you prefer. So you can either watch it or read about it or both, and you can just cycle through these different tutorials or return to the tutorial list, and this tells you what's in that set of GIFs, okay? So you can watch any of those that you prefer. And you can close this somehow. Okay, so so far so good. Any questions so far? And there is no sound to those. They're just animated GIFs, by the way. They're not videos. All right, so on the other components that are here, what we just looked at are kind of the basics of just a slight enhancement on where we were before with the first iteration of AUDirect 1.0. Set of icons and a little bit of additional information. So this is just what I've shown you are the enhancements of that part. But where we're headed is far more diverse and utilitarian than that. And it's all based on the fact that within AUDirect, the future version of AUDirect 2.0, you're going to be able to, there'll be multiple spaces so that when you log in, you'll have various spaces that have different kinds of information and or team sites and the kind of structure that will allow you to engage directly with other people across the university in the work that you do every day. In this early iteration of AUDirect 2.0, you all have a desktop. And this desktop is this area that, this white space that you have when you first log in. And that everyone has that. Some of you have additional things based on some, whether or not you are a participant. I think now you all have all employees too, and I want to go over that. So you should see desktop and all employees, and you may see other things. So the desktop is just sort of this blank space that isn't particularly useful right now. But the basic idea here is that you have, there's an add content component that allows you to drag things out to your desktop by using the crosshatch drag icon at the right of the item. Why am I having trouble with this today? Okay, good. This always only happens in a demo. This is not working. Okay. So why is it not working? There we go. So this is, so I just dragged my profile out to the desktop by just dragging and letting go. So what I have put on here is now is a piece of pre-baked content, which is the profiles for everyone at Antioch University. Now, in this profile, we really would like to recommend that, especially if you're in the administration, that you fill this profile out, because this is the primary mechanism for being able to find information about one another across the university. So there's some information at the top that's visible only to you that's pulled out of colleague, like my home address and your home phone. It's not something you want other people to see. This top part is not visible to other people. But on the bottom part, there is the shared in searches component where you have university information, like your email address for the university. And faculty or staff have the option to put in bio information, and you can put anything about yourself you'd like to in here. And to select some areas of focus for the work that you do by just clicking on these and selecting from these lists that are available. You also can put in your photo by clicking the edit icon at the top right of your photo, and you can either upload a photo from your computer or you can take one from your webcam. So you just upload, it's a standard upload functionality to just pick a photo, select it, and then you can save it. And we strongly recommend that you do this. So this profile was requested originally by the University Academic Council, and it was a special interest to faculty. So faculty also have the ability to add their CV on here so that when other faculty might be able to search for them for collaboration requests on certain academic projects, and ultimately for students to be able to read their CVs and be able to get more information about a faculty that's beyond, over and above what's beyond on the website, the marketing website. So this is the internal kind of structure. This profile also feeds another piece of ad content, which is this person search. This person search is an enhancement of the old directory that we had in AUDirect 1.0 that allows you to search for individuals based on their name in a simple search. So there's Brian Sammons, for example, that's his simple information. I searched for him by just putting his name in. And then if I can click on this extended info, so you can see the only information that shows about him is nothing personal, not his personal address, not his personal phone number, but what's in colleague about him that's publicly available. And then here, it pulls up anything else that he has put in his bio underneath those extended fields at the bottom.
Wendy, can you search by that extended information or only by name and title?
You indeed can. So the next thing is if you click this extended button here, then you can search by any of those criteria that are listed in the profile. So you can search for people by campus, by department, by title, and then by the focus areas that are at those fields that you see at the bottom of your profile. If I said one of my academic areas of interest was education, if I put that in there, I would come up if someone searched for that. So let me just see if this works. We'll just do education, and I will say that's the only, I've selected education. Let's see who we find, and it's going to bring up the profiles of anyone who's put education in there. And we can see that Erica did, yay, Erica. and we have, so nice. So that this extended search can be quite powerful because you can mix and match these criteria so that you can find just people on certain campuses. Let's try this, let's see what happens. Just a Los Angeles campus in education, and searching for those people, you'll just get those people. So it really can be, if using the extended search can actually be quite powerful for finding people across the university. And it's going to search for people regardless of whether you've added anything to your bio, but you can see it's much more powerful if your photo is there and you've added some of your fields of interest in there, because it really helps people find others across these categories. So for staff, this is focus area. Mine is, I'm with a PhD in leadership and change. Some areas of interest I selected. I support master's and doctoral level work, and modalities I support are low residency and online. These same fields are there for faculty, they're just worded a little different. It's degree levels taught, for example, for faculty. But it feeds that same search criteria. So we can find faculty and staff, and ultimately students. We will be able to do this for students to find them based on the information they've shared about themselves. So I really strongly urge you to put your profile information in. So you can drag your profile out to the desktop as I showed you. Now see, I just dragged it out and I didn't save it. So if I just refresh my screen, it's going to no longer be on my desktop. It's not here. So if I want to keep my profile on my desktop, and most people don't because you're only going to use it once, then you can then save your layout and leave it there. You also can use it without even having to drag it out in your desktop. You can just come over here to the left-hand side and you can click on my profile, and it's going to come up as a pop-up, and you can manage it there, and then just close it when you're done. So it's not going to be part of your desktop at all. And everything in this menu behaves this way, that you should be able to actually use anything over here without actually dragging it over your desktop. The ability to drag it to your desktop allows you to create kind of a customized view for yourselves that maybe you want to use every day. So for example, if you're someone who wanted to put the Antioch University news feed on your desktop, and you wanted to be able to see what's happening in the Los Angeles area, Los Angeles campus news feed, and have that here every day when you log in, you could drag it to your desktop and you could save it. And when I refresh my screen or when I log in, then that news would be here every time.
Wendy, we have a couple of questions in the chat.
Thank you for monitoring that, Bonnie. Would you like to just let me know what would you like to facilitate that?
The first one is, when it comes to accessing information about students, is there a way to access the name of their advisor?
Not currently, but that will be part of this.
Okay.
There's a whole structure, there's a whole process going on about building student dashboards that will make it possible to have a much richer array of information about student at your fingertips, including information like advisors. That currently is not here. I can show you an example of that in a bit if you like at the end.
EJ, let us know if you want to see further examples. And then Carolyn asked, can you keep the profile on your desktop without the personal information?
No. No, it's going to show you everything that's in it, but again, only you can see it. Right, if you drag your personal information profile over and you leave it on your desktop and it has the personal information here, nobody can see your desktop. Only you can see your desktop. So nobody will see your personal contact information.
What do you mean by only I can see it? If it's on my desktop, anybody can see it.
Not unless only your desk. This is like a unique web page. It's like it's your personal web page. It's not shared with anybody. Nobody else can access it. So if everybody has their own desktop that can be completely different. So when somebody does a search, they'll see some information from your profile, but they will not see any of this personal information.
I see what
So
you're
if you-
saying. I'm in a
right?
public workspace. That's why I was asking.
Then you probably don't want to do that.
Right. So they only don't see it when they search for me. If they
Right.
search for me, they're not going to get that personal information.
Correct.
If
Correct.
it's sitting on my physical workstation, they're going to see it.
Yes, so if somebody walks by.
Thank you.
But that is an interesting concept, and I'm sure it's possible for us to sort of collapse that information, so there's not, they'd have to come over and actually click on it to see it. So we could do something like that. I like that idea. Hadn't thought of that. Good point.
Great. And Judy asked, in the person search, is there any way that everyone's campus location can be included? I think it is already, correct?
It is. So this person, this faculty, staff, student, campus, department, and title come from colleague. So everybody's already coded. So if they're a valid employee in our university and you search for them using any of these 4 fields, they should come up.
But it doesn't say what campus you're on.
Oh, does it when you actually do search? So
if you just search for all the Kevins at AU, or yeah.
I'll do. All right. I'll try Kevin. Oh, do we have any Kevins?
We do have at least one, so hopefully I know we have several.
See, we come up with some Kevins. It's searching the entire database like one by one, so the initial searches can take a second or two. But I don't. Does it tell you what campus you're in?
I think when you bring back several people,
Let's see.
university administration. So that's the campus. It's the underlined one. It would say Seattle if he weren't a central employee, right?
So it tells me I'm at the Graduate School of Leadership and Change.
You can search Kevin Linus, Lyness, and just see if he says.
Mine says New England.
Yeah, New England
so,
campus.
So, yeah, so it is included there. Does that answer your question? So it is there.
And if you have 5 or 6 Kevins listed on this page, each one has their campus affiliation.
Right.
Where does that pull the information from?
Colleague, the university data system.
So if it's incorrect in colleague.
Okay, yes, so that's good point, because if it's incorrect, you have the ability right here to click this update your personal info. If you notice your information is not right, the reason we put this in there is because we do have bad data in colleague. You can update your personal info, and that takes you to, I believe, AU View, where that currently exists, and you should be able to fix it. You can't fix everything, like your university phone number is not handled by AU View, it's handled by HR. So if anything that's in these fields you can fix yourself, if there's something that's wrong that's not here, contact your HR rep to have them fix it for you.
So just wanted to clarify incorrect versus inaccurate. For some reason, I'm attached to one of the master's programs in my entire department.
So I would contact HR because they're the only people who can manage that data interaction with colleagues. So they'll have to update your record based on whatever your criteria.
I believe that's related to your position ID and where your salary comes out of. So if you work for multiple programs, it just may be how HR has assigned your primary position.
Right, and they can change that, so.
Yeah. So maybe some of the question about not seeing the campus is that there's not a line break between the department and the campus on the profile, Wendy?
Yep, I'll mention that to Brian.
And you guys have been so great. I've used the give feedback feature for Brian and Wendy to look at things, and they've incorporated some ideas and fixed problems. It's been really great. So
yeah, we want to hear from you. We want to know what's working, what's not working, and we want the ideas so that we can do this better. I do want to say that because we're working primarily on the next iteration of this, that we're not making a lot of changes to AUDirect 2.0 because we're shortly going to be moving to a much more comprehensive version of this. So I wanted to move to, if there are any questions about, well, maybe I should just point out one of the other things in add content, since we're talking about that you might find useful is that you can also find a copy of the IT help desk. So if you want to submit a help desk ticket, that's also here under add content to submit a help desk ticket to IT.
And the advantage for this help desk ticket form, which I don't think it works on the website version, is you can add an attachment. So if you have a screenshot of the error you're getting or a file you're having problems with, you can drag and drop it right into that box in the bottom and it attaches it to your ticket very easily.
Sadly, I use that very often, and I have that on my dashboard.
Oh, good.
Yes, people who support a lot of different people tend to be the, can you submit this help desk ticket? Can you make sure this gets fixed? I'm one of those too. It's on my desktop all the time.
And if you have feedback about AUDirect, not anything that does not have to do with this particular interface, the interface itself, the thing we're looking at today, if you have any questions about that, use this give feedback report issues function at the top. But anything else, any computer problems, Sakai problems, Zoom problems, they code to the help desk. We just want to make sure that we're seeing the AUD special issues independently. But most things go into this help desk ticket here. Okay. And common threads also. So one thing I wanted to, did I save that or did, so if I want to get rid of this, just while we're still here, and if I want to get rid of this block, I change my mind, I don't want it here. I can, if I use this edit mode button on the right hand side and toggle that on, you see that this bar becomes available at the top of this block that I had moved onto the desktop. And I have this red X over here to remove it if I like. And so I can take it off my desktop and then save my changes so that I can no longer see it here. You also see that you have other options here. I can take off the header and footer. I can make it smaller. I can make it bigger. I can make it full screen. I can window shade it. I mean, you have other options here under edit. But I think I just want to remove it. I want to save the layout. So it isn't something you're going to be using a lot of right now, but that's going to become more functional in the near future. So turn on edit mode. If you want to make, you're in your desktop, there's something on your desktop you want to change, turn on edit mode, and that will allow you to change it.
Wendy, BJ asked, when will the new version be released or approximate timeline?
2 months is, I think, what we're looking at.
Excellent.
It'll be much more streamlined. Okay. One thing I want to make sure we have time to show you, so I'm going to do this now, is that, as I said, you all have a desktop, but you should also all have all employees. The all employees is a sort of a first, again, baby step toward Networked University to try to bring together all these resources that are all over the place. And this is just one little step in that direction. So you see that we're able to add, divide up these spaces into these tabbed areas. So what you see in all employees are an attempt to bring together some of the components to help us communicate better across the university. So on the home tab, when you first open up the all employees space, you'll see that there is a copy of the all employees Google group. You get these emails in your, to all employees from maybe Bill Groves or from IT, and they end up in your mailbox, and you may delete them, and you want to go back and find one and you don't know where it is. This gives you a view of these, everything that was sent out to all employees. So you can come in here and find past copies of Common Thread. There's an announcement about joining WCET, but anything that's ever been posted to the group, you can come and find it here. So it's a display of all of these, all of the things that were posted to all employees. And also there's a copy of the person search here to help you find people across the university. There's an AU News tab that instead of putting this on your desktop, no reason to do that. You can just come here and here's a copy of the news and Common Thread just available to you under this tab. There is a tab specifically designed for staff. So, and you don't see the faculty one here, but there's one for faculty as well that's a little more complex. But the staff here have a copy of the all staff Google group. Same thing, if things go out to the university, just the announcement about the coronavirus that just went out from the Office of the Chancellor, if you deleted that email, here it is sitting here for you. So everything that's ever been posted to that, you can go back and look for these things. You can't currently post to it, but that is, being able to post across the university is something that's going to change pretty soon. But you cannot, this is really just, this is why it's announcements for staff of things that only a few people have the ability to post announcements for everyone. But what you do have the ability to do, and I keep trying to get somebody to do it, there is a bulletin board feature here. There is if you post on this bulletin board, you're posting just like on Facebook or any other social media site, you're making a post, and that post is available to everybody across the university. There are categories you can post in, and right now there's a marketplace, Antioch event, collaborators wanted, committee members needed, or I just published, presented, accomplished. So there's some categories for making a post. So especially say you have an Antioch event coming up that might be of interest to people, you just select that category, make a post just like you would on any other social media site. You can do text, you can do images, you can put a video link in here, you can do it all. And post that to the bulletin boards. You want to announce something that's going on your campus and it went out 2 ways or it's on the marketing site, but you really want to let people within the university know what's going on. Post it to the bulletin board, let everybody know that it's happening. When it gets posted, then there'll be a pop-up here that indicates that there's a post to look at and you can go and review it. You get an indicator at the top buttons here that something's happened to go look at.
Is there a filter on that it goes to somebody to get approved before it's published?
Not at present.
And does it go, which audiences does it go to? If you're in staff, are you sending it to staff? Or are you sending it to faculty, staff, students, administrators, the whole 9 yards?
It goes to all employees.
All employees.
Right.
So we really want that ability for people to post there to all employees without it being approved?
So what's your worry about that?
I have a lot of worries about that since everything else we do has to be approved before it goes out.
So this is a push, this is a pull notification. They have to come to the bulletin board to read it, right? It doesn't go to their email.
No.
But you're getting an announcement that something has come out at the top.
You're getting an indicator that there's something to look at.
I can see both ways. I remember when it was first class and we all had this culture and this ability to send to everyone. And it has been a little different now. So I can hear that there could be 2 sides to the argument.
I have 2 concerns. One is that I do handle all of the events and news and publications and things for my department through things like the Common Thread and the website to make sure that everything's accurate. I feel like if people can just do it on their own, then they're going to say, well, I put that news out there, and it's like, well, yeah, but you didn't give it to me to put on the website or to put in Common Thread. Then the other thing that happens occasionally on our campus is we get announcements and there's just too many of them. and you always are getting an announcement about something going on in the campus.
And then you'll be getting it about 5 campuses. I mean, I'm a university employee, so I get all of them from all campuses. Is that these announcements, are you going to get all from all campuses, Wendy?
Yes. Once
Okay.
again,
They'll appear there. You don't have to look at them though.
right. It's like Facebook.
Yeah, but you have to look at them to know what they are. I guess I would feel frustrated to be told about an event that's happening in Santa Barbara or something for sale in a marketplace that's in Seattle, or somebody who wants a collaborator in another campus. I think that's just a difficult thing, and it's something I have to look at from a different lens, I suppose. But initially I'd be like, if it's not relevant to me, then I don't want to be told that there's all these announcements and things. I like the idea, but I think it would be maybe by campus.
Well, you know, I hear what you're saying. We've entered, over the last 10 years, we've entered into a different world. We're entered into a social media world where it's about openness, it's about choice, and it's about looking at what's of interest to you and ignoring the rest. And having the ability to kind of move to filter out that noise is an important part of the process. And it's also what we lack in this university is an openness to engage with one another more than a need to close down multiple channels of information. You may feel like you're getting a lot at your campus, but across the university, there's a paucity of information. There's a paucity of awareness of what's going on across the university. So I think these decisions will get made over time based on the culture of use. The thinking about the underlying thinking here is the need to connect people across the university as opposed to keep them from being connected or to keep from annoying them. And I get that because, I mean, there's too much. There's too much for all of us everywhere. But that's just part of how we control and how we manage something like that, is that multiple dimensions to it.
Yeah, maybe there's room for people to apply their own filters over time. You know, in Google, if you get all these things via Gmail, you can write a filter to sort something out that you don't need to get all the time. Even if you're on the mailing list, you can sort where to put it. And maybe when this is used a lot, if it feels like there's too much, that ability will be added too.
I think that this is one of those times when there might be that line that needs to be drawn occasionally between administrative staff and faculty. I can see a lot of collaboration with faculty, especially when they were talking about the bands across the campuses and things like that. But from a staff administrative point of view, when I'm handling 23 faculty and I'm already like overwhelmed with announcements from Sakai and things like that, I don't see as much collaboration as an administrator, but that could be just me.
That makes sense. And then speaking to what Bonnie was just saying, the next iteration will have a subscription component to it, so you can subscribe to certain channels and not, so you can see just what you want to see. But until it gets used, there's no point. So, right, just having it used would be nice. So we're not currently overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't know it even existed. So I didn't know that was even there and that I could post. And I would be a little worried maybe to post to all faculty, all staff, and all administrators. I would love the ability to check off which of those groups I wanted to email or which campus.
If you think about it, there's only, Bonnie, maybe what, 3 of us on our campus that have access to all staff and all faculty to even send an email.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't, you know, we've come from a culture, it didn't used to be like that. It's just, we had access flow across the university that was incredibly powerful and incredibly rich, and we lost all that just because of the change in technology, not because anybody decided that was the way it should go. So it's just an interesting dynamic. We'll figure it out as we go along. I don't think it's going to be catastrophic in any way. I wanted to point out a couple of other things. There's a tab here with a collection of some of the academic services across the university and University Academic Council group here, so that you can see this is really just to make people aware of many of the resources you might not even know exist. So there are lots of things on this page and it'll take you to the location where this information is. So it's just a collection. And if you have additional things that aren't here that should be, just let us know. So there's a collection of academic services, same thing for financial services. There's some information here you may not know existed. Like there's some really, one of the things that I was surprised by in the academic services was this, where does it go? This resources thing. Here, this resource center that's on the marketing website that has all sorts of scholarship information in it that, you know, I had no idea that existed, right? All this information here that, so we have pockets of stuff across the university that not everyone is aware of. So this is just a beginning to an attempt to bring some of that together. Financial, as I said, same is especially true for HR. So there's this baby step HR page that starts to bring together some of the information from HR that there's going to be much more comprehensive information here. But on this HR page, you can find you can get to your benefits providers. I, for example, did not know we had a relationship with Liberty Mutual, that the university gets a kickback from Liberty Mutual if you use their insurance, and that I just halved my car insurance by switching to Liberty Mutual. So it was nice to know we actually have that. There's also the holiday calendar that everybody's always trying to find. There's a copy of it here, and employment forms and withholding forms and other kind of access to how do we get help with HR? For the things that are kind of low-hanging fruit. A lot of people don't know about the Employee Assistance Program, for example. So again, a collection with the caveat that you contact your HR rep with any questions, but awareness, what's out there in this university? Where is it? Same thing with policies and forms, our tech resources, help desk, academic tech, Zoom, policies, legal. And then just some information about some things we don't see very often, many of us, about the Office of Institutional Effectiveness, the report they just did, the one Antioch University Site and Sky, ULC, the Board of Governors, Michelle's work with strategic initiatives, who's in the Leadership Council, just sort of a quick reference for who's who in this university and what's happening in the university. So this is just a starting point, a reference that you can use to help keep you in touch with some of the foundational things that are essential to Antioch University.
Wendy, can you show the side menu with the words on it? Someone wanted to know, how do I get back into that section? So it's under spaces and all employees, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we have that taskbar that I feel like I'm pointing to? Am I pointing to that? That right there.
No.
I'm pointing on my screen where it says Home, AUNE News, Staff, Academic Services. Can that stay on my dashboard?
Can that be, I suggested that we make this default
Desktop, sorry.
desktop, but at present, no, you have to just, when you come into spaces, you just have to click into all employees. You can't save it as your default space. I don't think,
I would like that as my desktop default space, so then every morning I could have all that at my fingertips.
I would too, and I've mentioned it, so, but right now you can't do that. I agree, that would be a good thing to have. So you could,
I get a little confused between the spaces, the add content, and the create content, and what's going to be in each place.
Me too.
So those spaces are full of content, and I would love the spaces and content menu to maybe be all one thing.
Yes.
So that we didn't have to try to look, like access services is in there. So now I feel like maybe I should be going to spaces all employees rather than add content access services to find duplicate things that might point you to different places.
Yeah, this is not going to be the same in the next version, because I totally agree with you. I think that this is just confusing. So this was we needed a mechanism to bring the content over from AUDirect 1.0 that was in those green bars underneath the icons that sat on top. So this was just a first step toward getting that done. But I agree. This will be cleaner make more sense.
Thanks. We have a couple minutes left for questions. I know people have been asking them in the chat, and so far we've covered everything. But if anybody has any more last minute questions, please feel free to unmute or open the chat.
How do we get rid of icons under services, or are they have to stay there?
Yeah, for now they stay there. That's just, this is the full set of icons and you can't do anything with them.
Because I have a
But
lot.
Yes, it is my hope, as I said, we're using these icons at all because we needed to make a bridge between 1.0 and 2.0 that was recognizable. In an ideal world, this is just clunky and unnecessary. So we hope to be able to do it a different way in the future.
So I am an employee on the New England campus, and I'm a student in the AUO world.
Mm-hmm.
So I do find it tricky sometimes to figure out where I am. I have to sort of log in and log out for some things. When you said that the icons were set up based on my my role in the university and my campus, is there any way to adjust that?
All of that comes from colleague. So it has to do with your primary and secondary affiliations, sort of what Bonnie was referring to earlier. This is something you would have to work through with HR and IT if there are other icons that you don't see that you should be seeing. That is something that's not controlled by anybody's individual decision. It's controlled by the data and colleague. And the only way to change it is to work with HR and IT to come up with the ideal structure that's right for you to represent your multiple roles. Multiple roles in colleague is historically a tricky issue for Antioch University to manage on many different levels.
I just want to say I really, really like that all employees area that you showed us. I'm hoping that that's something we can put on our desktop, like you said, maybe in the next round.
I hope so.
Because I have to use a lot of those tools.
Right. And right now they're hard to know, where are they? Where are they? We have at least a dozen different systems with academic information on them. It's all over the place. And so, I mean, by the way, that reminds me that a lot of stuff is in Sakai. And so remember that you can also build your own icon set to locations in Sakai for AUO, for courses that you teach or you support, or, I mean, you can, getting you directly into those locations in Sakai is something that this can be very useful for you for.
Wendy, can I put in a plug for the AT button in services? In the bottom of your services, there is our AT link, and that's a Sakai website where you can find all of our tutorials and our workshop schedule. So the recording for this event, for example, will be on the workshop schedule in the AT button, which is in your services menu, which you may have never noticed before.
So here in the tech, you also have that with a direct link to the YouTube channel, trying to plug for it here too. So there's also more information here. So move the icon over, use the text space, post things in the bulletin board, Bonnie, from academic technology.
Yep, I would be happy to be guinea pig and test some of those things for you.
Great. And here's the academic team, and here's the IT team. So.
Hey, is Patty in there yet?
I don't know.
Okay, I didn't see where. So that's under tech. All of our faces were under there. I didn't know they were there.
Yeah, if you put this this is just pulled from your profile.
Oh, okay. We need to add Patty Dale Greco right here. She's in our session today to that list.
Okay, great. Any other questions? We're at the end of the time, so
All right, looks like people are checking off. And we appreciate you coming and glad that you were able to learn something.
yes, thank you for coming.
If you have any questions, feel free to email us at at@antioch.edu and we'll get our questions to Wendy. Or if they're not about AUDirect, we'll answer them for you.